So Logical Law of Attraction with Helen Racz is the group page on Facebook if you want to access it. We're also running it on YouTube. This series is the manifestation checklist, right? So we started in last month and we were going through the aspects of it. So I have a cool way to walk you through it again today. So we had clarity, gratitude, alignment, integrity, and forgiveness. So if you're, usually you're in alignment with all these things and things just happen. Jobs, go out to dinner and have a nice experience, go to a party, do a vacation. You're doing this all the time. The reason for the class is when you're like, well, I want this, why isn't it happening? Or when you really want to focus, but you want to do it efficiently and effectively. So these are the aspects we would break it down into. These are the real important pieces for conscious co-creation, right? So I want to talk a little more. We've kind of covered them all. We speak of them in different chunks, and yet the magic is when they all interconnect, right? So today I wanted to show you, let's play with it. What's the opposite of clarity? Chaos, indecision, confusion. What was that? Fragmentation, that's a good one. I think I spelled this wrong. Chaos. Fragmentation. Oh, I know what that feels like. And the opposite of gratitude would be frustration, impatience, resentment. Crankiness. I like that. Crankiness. And the opposite of alignment would be a lot of the chaos, indecision, confusion. This would be mistakes, right? Or you think you're going in one direction and then you end up and you're like, well, that's not what I was intending, right? That could happen. The opposite of integrity is, again, it could be confusion. It would be inconsistency. Honesty.
In what way?
So when I say integrous or integrity, I mean, are you honest? Do you walk your talk? Do you follow through when you say something? Are you dependable? All your commitments. So if you're in crystal clarity, you're doing all right action, which is the alignment. You're doing all the human right action for a business or an event or personal growth, and you're not getting the results that make sense to you, you want to check your integrity. So integrity is about an energy, oops. And it's interesting to me because most law of attraction books forget to mention this. This is like serious mojo, right? When you're not in integrity, when you're incomplete in what you intended, you have incompletion with what you intended. You say one thing to one person, you don't follow through. You speak out loud what you're going to do and you don't follow through for you. Or you flat out lie. Or you borrow money and don't return it. Or you borrow things and don't return it. Or you talk about one day you're gonna and you never set plans. It's an actual energy jam. It's like, it doesn't let energy flow appropriately. It puts a kink in it. So lack of integrity literally stops or limits flow. So think of this logically. If you go to a business, say you have a restaurant and you love their food, and you go to them and the store says, the restaurant says open 10 a.m., till 10 p.m. And you go show up at 10:30 and they haven't opened. How many times are you going to go back? Right? It's inconsistent. It's not integrous. If you have a friend who's working on manifesting wealth consciousness or money, but they never pay you back what they borrow from you, right? Or you go to eat and they chip in on their part but never the tip, right? All these things are not a flow for truth, for what is, right? So you really, really want to look at that. If you're holding unforgiveness, but you're acting like you forgive, well, that's not integrous, right? Or if you really want to be 100% in all of this. So if I was ever late, which is pretty rare, people would never be offended. They would actually be concerned. They would check on me because I keep my word, right? If I make a commitment, I keep it. Now, what's the cool thing about integrity is that when you just keep your word. Like I have a rule. If it's on my calendar, I don't change it, right? So whoever has first dibs gets me. If you give me enough time and I put you on the calendar, I don't go changing schedules, right? And, I might in a rare occasion, but overall, that's my rule. I have these rules because my energy is very, very efficient and effective. If you're always changing and, I want to do that even though I committed to this, it's a big energy drain. If you're saying, hey, I'm going to, show up and help you on this, and then you're distracted when you do it, you are not complete on your intention. You're not in clarity, you're not following through, and you will find yourself exhausted. Right?
I was thinking another opposite of integrity is when Chris mentioned, for clarity, fragmentation.
Yeah. And I didn't write those far enough apart for writing next to them. Fragmentation.
So integrity's opposite is confusion and consistency.
Yeah. Integrity is consistent, walk your talk, honor your word. And don't you feel safer with people that whatever they say, you can count on it. If they say, I did this, you don't even have to think about it again. It's done. Sometimes, yes, there's forgetfulness or things happen, but it's so rare that you don't have to worry. And then if you have somebody who's inconsistent and is not integrous with their word, the whole time your energy's kind of open like, did I hear from them? Are they going to reply? Am I going to get what I need? Did they handle it? Do I need to check on it? It's just an energy drain. Does that make sense? Right? And then forgiveness. So we know the opposite of forgiveness is resentment, suffering. So what is forgiveness is literally taking full responsibility. Forgiveness means you don't make anybody else, this is hard, you don't make anybody else responsible for your experience of you. That's true forgiveness. It's freedom from victim consciousness, period. It also means the buck stops with you, right? So it's freedom from victim consciousness. And so the opposite is victim. Somebody else, the government, the president, the insurance, the paperwork, the neighborhood, your mother, your history, your genetics, your body, your mind is hijacking you and you're victimized. Right? If you can't let go of that and just be, here's what I'm in, how am I going to show up in it? It is exhausting and it depletes your energies. Right? So another way to say it, this side would be solution-oriented. And this side would be problem-oriented. Or if you want to talk principle-based, this would be proactive. And this would be reactive. And could my handwriting get worse today? I'm not sure. Okay? So, just looking at our lists, which one would you rather be? Who would you rather hang out with? Who would you feel safer with? Who would it be easier to love? Right? So none of what we're studying is, rocket science or unusual. It's all very logical. And yet the trick is, are you applying it to all the areas where you're not having a good experience? Even when you're in pain, even when you've got, maybe you have more money going out than coming in, maybe you are in a big transition, maybe you're confused, maybe you have big decisions to make. Even then, you don't feel great. Life is very challenging here. And yet, the difference between your experience, if you're dominantly this, is you don't suffer. That's it. You have faith that things always turn around. You know how you're going to show up. It's not dependent on the situation changing or turning around. You know how you show up and how you experience you. Does that make sense? It's very empowering. I come from a long history of fear and knowing that it doesn't matter what happens. I know how I'm going to show up in it is very reassuring, even in the unknown, right? So I wanted to take you through that. I have no idea even when I started. It's a wonky day, isn't it? Okay, we're at 11 minutes. So last night, I know I am sensitive. I like being sensitive to energy because I love to play with it in a positive way. And so I was awake more than asleep last night, and I was thinking, well, that's fine. I just meditate and do some yummy intention work. And I realized tonight may be a little wonky too because the elections, there was a lot of energy stirred up. And the more I was intending to prepare for the election, the more out of sync I was feeling. And so I had to find my own clarity with why am I voting, make sure it's not just out of guilt or shame or confusion. I felt a little lack of integrity voting when I haven't researched everybody on that, 14-page ballot. And so I had to do some clarity work to figure out, not just the what, just go vote, you just cast your ballot and then you're done. No, the level of clarity. Why am I doing it? How do I want to do it? How am I going to show up in it? What's my intention? And when I leave, how will I know I was successful hitting my mark? Right? And it was a delightful experience. 15 minutes this morning. Everybody was really nice, got my cute little sticker. And before I got clarity, it was just a distraction. Like I couldn't make my mind up. I didn't know how to get the information I wanted without being appalled and disappointed. And so I had to do a lot of mental shifting, which is a whole different conversation. And yet the reason I'm bringing it up in this context is when this is your dominant habit of thinking, you can find your way there. When it's a habit, when it's the way your mind knows you like to think, it will support you. When you have your subconscious and your unconscious programmed to do this, no matter what you're struggling with, it won't take as long. And you will realign, so we can agree, right? This would be the better version of ourselves. And this would be the version we are listening to a class like this, to evolve ourselves out of this into empowerment, out of victim into empowerment. And so as a habit, I know how to do it. I know to run through the clarity and really make it personal and really set my intention. Well, how will I know I'm successful? And then do you hit your mark? Well, if you do this consistently on everything, you will more often hit your mark than not. Right? So that's the great gift of it. So just a reminder, these are things we admire and would prefer to experience in others. And when you experience this with you, your level of self-love kicks up. And the love that you can give this planet, you can give your creator, you can give others, is absolutely tied to your ability to love yourself. Okay? All right, so I think that was 15 minutes, a little chaotic today. And so Facebook, we'll see you, and YouTube, we'll see you in a week. Thank you.